Dr. Broccoli's presentation is on why is New Jersey's climate changing. He said his research interest is climate modeling. I didn't understand how one can determine the past climate in New Jersey using models created on computers. Dr. Broccoli's chart is easily refuted by examining the data collected with thermometers over the last 120 years. I sat next to Dr. Broccoli at a climate presentation at the Rutgers Livingston campus student study in November 20th, 2015. I asked him how he could devise computer programs to determine the climate for New Jersey for the last 120 years. He revealed that he used carbon dioxide records, the brightness of the sun, sulfate, aerosols, and the burning of coal. So Dr. Broccoli bases his chart partly, perhaps mainly, on the assumption that carbon dioxide is a cause of global warming, and then he factors in the other items. Let's compare Dr. Broccoli's chart on the left with the actual temperatures recorded by the National Atmospheric Administration. Dr. Broccoli's chart shows the cold readings in blue and the warm readings in red. He shows the beginning of the 19th century to be cold, when in fact it was quite warm. He shows the 30s to be cool, while in fact it was extremely hot. He shows the 40s to be very warm, when in fact it was cold. He shows the beginning of the 21st century to be extremely hot, when it was actually quite cool. The NOAA chart, and I call this outfit NOAA, correlates exactly with my recollection of the 3 decades of the 30s, 40s, 50s. It was so hot in the 30s that I would frequently come inside for a shower to cool off. In the 40s, it was so cold that I could play ice hockey outside all winter. And in 1950, it was warm, and the ice never formed. I remember it vividly because I was extremely disappointed. I was a junior in high school at the time. My ice hockey days ended. The chart on the right destroys both of the climate change alarmist premises, namely that man-made carbon dioxide is the major cause of global warming, and that Michael Mann's hockey stick graph is true, and that the world is warmer than it has been in 1,000 years. We only have to go back to the 1930s to prove that assertion to be wrong. The dotted line represents carbon dioxide. And you can see how low the carbon dioxide is at the beginning of the century. So it couldn't have had much of an effect to cause this tremendous heat in the 30s. After the 30s, it rose rapidly, and there was no corresponding rise in temperature at the beginning of the 21st century. The warmists have it backwards. 71% of the Earth's surface consists of the oceans. The oceans are a vast reservoir of carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide forms when the animal plant life in the oceans die and decay at the bottom of the oceans. You can see the deep ocean is a vast reservoir of carbon dioxide. When this cold water was heated by the tremendous heat in the 30s, it penetrated through, and carbon dioxide was released back into the atmosphere. I will demonstrate how carbon dioxide is driven out of cold water with heat. This demonstration will show that carbon dioxide is colorless, and also that heat will drive carbon dioxide out of a body of cold water. All these sodas have carbon dioxide under pressure to give the drink its fizz or good taste. This is a bottle of seltzer water, which is carbon dioxide injected into water under pressure. I just removed this cold bottle of seltzer water with the label removed so the contents can easily be seen. There are few bubbles coming to the surface. When I apply heat to the bottle, you will see the carbon dioxide being driven from the water. This is a fact. This demonstration can be duplicated anywhere in the world under the same conditions. The heat of the 1930s released carbon dioxide out of the oceans. All this carbon dioxide was created naturally and was not man-made. This Environmental Protection Agency chart shows the U.S. heat index wave. Note the spike in 1930 and the higher spike in 1936 and how cold it was in the 60s. The highest temperature recorded in New Jersey was 110 degrees on July 10th, 1936. This chart conforms not with Dr. Broccoli's chart. In the book, Two Spectacular Seasons, Al Lopez, the Dodger catcher, recalled that in the 1930s, sometimes the temperature wouldn't go under 100 degrees, day or night. Sometimes we ended up sleeping in bathtubs with ice in the water just to get some sleep. Here's a trivia question for you. When was the only time a Major League Baseball game was canceled due to heat? Answer: on July 16, 1936, the Cincinnati-Brooklyn game was canceled due to extreme heat. This is a cartoon from July 28, 1930, which says the summer of 1930 set records in the Washington for days that the temperature reached or exceeded 100 degrees Fahrenheit at 11 days. In the 1930s, the Southern Plains were called the Dust Bowl. Such high temperatures were never before recorded. The heat was intense. 1936 heat wave in England. A terrible wave hits Berlin, Germany in 1930. Citizens flee 105-degree heat. In the 40s, it was so cold we played hockey all winter outside. I played on this hockey rink. When I was a junior in high school, no ice formed. In 2012, Dr. Broccoli said the annual snowfall across much of the northern hemisphere is projected to decrease during the 21st century. Wrong. The northern hemisphere has had incredible amounts of snowfall these last few years. This is a failed prediction. Amazingly, this slide and the two following slides are shown by Dr. Francis. Broccoli and other warmists had previously predicted less snow. Dr. Francis could ignore the increase in Arctic ice in 2013. How many people look at satellite photos of the Arctic sea ice? But millions upon millions of people were experiencing the cold, ice, and snow across the northern hemisphere. So she developed a new theory to explain her self-described wacky weather. Giraffes in Russia, really deep snow in Japan. What should you do? I suggest you do nothing until you feel secure enough to speak out. Go about getting you educated, and in your spare time go to lectures by skeptics or watching them online. You can go to YouTube and enter the following bulleted items into the YouTube search bar. Professors and teachers with tenure must step out of the shadows and fight back like the courageous Professor Judith Curry. Action is absolutely necessary. The students in the liberal colleges must learn the truth if they're going to live in a free society. The climate change theory is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on Americans in the world. The climate change proponents at Rutgers and the universities throughout the country live the good life on government grants, speaking fees, and trips around the country and the world, all paid for by students and taxpayers. The government has spent many billions of dollars on climate change. They want to spend trillions. We are faced with an incredible dilemma in which the government is willing to impoverish its citizens based on the false theory of climate change. Thank you for watching this video.